Hello and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars so you don't have to, using the Codemasters game since 2010, and it is round 20, the final round of 2012, and the final ever appearance for the Hispania Racing team. Yes, this is the end of the line for HRT, and also a couple of other notable names will be leaving the sport after this one, Michael Schumacher being the most prominent among them. But it's been quite the season for the Spanish outfit here, and Brazil is our last stop. Now, in the real world, the date of this race was after HRT put themselves up for sale. They were looking for buyers. They had, from I think the date of this race, I think something like 7 days to secure buyers so they could enter 2013. It didn't happen by the end of November 2012, and they didn't submit an entry to 2013, and within a couple of weeks, they went into liquidation, and they were done. Pedro de la Rosa never drove in the sport again, although is currently working for Aston Martin, I think. Obviously very good friends with Fernando Alonso, and vast experience in the sport. Can't remember exactly what he's doing for Aston, but he is there. And Narain Kartikeyan never drove in F1 again either. So that was it for both of these drivers, as well as the team they were driving for. But you join us 19 rounds down in this season. The Drivers' Champion has already been crowned. The Constructors' Champion has already been crowned. And we are the winner of our teammate challenge against Pedro. But as you can see, they're 14th place, 35 points. It's been a much better season than 2011 on balance, even with all the penalties, which we started picking up again in the USA at COTA at the debut of that particular circuit after a collision with Bruno Senna. It was just clumsy, I think, from both of us, but this game dishes out penalties pretty quickly, and that came after a couple of fairly middling performances in Korea and the Abu Dhabi circuit, but a really great one in India back in round 17. So let's take a look at those standings before we go into this final round. We're 14th, 30 points behind Kobayashi, 5 clear of Hulkenberg. So really desperately trying to hold on to that in this last round. As I said, Lewis Hamilton already champion, 31 clear with only 25 left. Alonso pretty much second. Webber needs to win and have Alonso get a 0-point score to jump him. So Alonso is pretty much guaranteed second. Same between Webber and Button. And then Vettel is fifth, and on his own, the champion from 2011 in our series will not retain that trophy, which means we've had 3 championships, 3 different winners. Webber in season 1, Vettel on countback in season 2, and Lewis Hamilton in season 3. Raikkonen just a point ahead of his teammate, who's also got Rosberg, Schumacher, and Massa in close proximity, so that could all shift between the Lotus, the Mercedes, and the other Ferrari. Perez is 11th, just ahead of Maldonado and Kobayashi. There we are, just ahead of Hulk, but comfortably, I'd say, ahead of Ricciardo, Verne, Di Resta, and Senna. So I'd say 15th is as low as we can finish. And then the 0-point scores. Kovalainen and Petrov peak, De La Rosa ahead of Glock, and then Kartikeyan does appear in the post-race standings, because he should be, obviously, in the HRT, but is not. In the Constructors, as I said, McLaren have claimed the title. They are 99 points clear, basically 100 points clear of Red Bull, so that's not going to be caught. Ferrari are third, and quite comfortably. Once again, they're not going to be catching Red Bull, so the top 3 are as they will finish. Lotus are 20 clear of Mercedes, so there's still a very slim chance that Mercedes could jump them. Same for Sauber to Mercedes, there's a 31-point gap there, so Sauber could technically, mathematically jump Mercedes, but it seems unlikely. Williams comfortably in 7th. We're not going to catch them, and they're not going to catch Sauber. Force India jumped us last race after our just fairly mediocre performance in the USA. They are now 2 points clear, so we really want to take 8th back, so it's going to have to be a special drive here in Brazil. Toro Rosso a 10th, and then Caterham are ahead of Marussia, and that's it. That's how the standings are going in to round 20 of this season, the final chance for points. And as I said, it has actually been a fairly decent season, all told. Qualifying's been terrible. We've only got out of Q1 once, and that was back in Singapore, I think. But we have taken 2 podiums, and our best drive probably in India, where we took ninth, which sounds strange considering as we got third in Malaysia and second in Singapore. But in Malaysia, it was a case of everybody pit at the end of lap one and ran a two-stop, so we could come back out in front of people and just kind of sit in front of them and just about hold them off defensively. Great. And in Singapore, we finished second, a lap down to the only other car that finished the race, because everybody else crashed out or were disqualified. India actually, on merit, good start, good defensive driving, actually had enough pace to stay in front of people. And thanks to a Fernando Alonso brake issue, we moved into 9th from 10th. But Interlagos, a circuit I actually really enjoy, one of my favourites on the calendar back then and still today, because obviously it's one of the few you look at actually that are still being run in some setting or another. Obviously, at this point in history, trying to get my words out, that it was the last race of the season, and I think a lot of people of my particular kind of F1 experience, I think a lot of us like that. We remember it being round 2, and we remember it being the final round, and now this kind of weird, nearish the end of the season kind of spot that it's found for itself in the calendar. But it's a great racetrack. Weather is often unpredictable. It flows. It's fast. It's really short and a lot of fun to drive. So I'm really hoping that we can go out with a bang, because this, as I say, is the last time that HRT would ever compete in an F1 Grand Prix. So it would be nice to go out with something to celebrate before we move back to what is now Marussia, from obviously when we drove for them in 2010 at Virgin Racing. So let's go get some practice in, see how the HRT tackles Interlagos, and as we do, we'll talk about what was a fairly exciting 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix. The final round of the 2012 season saw the championship head to Brazil and Interlagos for a title decider between defending champion Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari's Fernando Alonso. There was just a 13-point gap between the two drivers heading into the race, both knowing that a bad weekend would see the other clinch the title. Brazil would also see the final races for Michael Schumacher, Bruno Senna, Vitaly Petrov, Timo Glock, Pedro de la Rosa, Narain Karthikeyan and the Hispania Racing Team, marking the first of the 2010 entrants to fall. The practice sessions were run without any major incident, the McLarens looking strong, with Hamilton topping both the Friday practice sessions and Button topping the final practice. Alonso was looking off the pace compared to his rival Vettel, nearly half a second off in the first session. The one saving grace for Alonso was that Ferrari looked fairly strong on its long run pace. Qualifying started damp, necessitating intermediate tyres. Grosjean was the shock elimination in Q1 after he collided with De La Rosa during the session. While the Lotus made it back to the pits, he didn't have enough time to change tyres, enduring Caterham, Marussia and HRT in ending qualifying early. Q2 was running dry conditions, with only one shock elimination in the session, that being Michael Schumacher in his final race before his second retirement. It would be 2x2 at the top at the end of Q3, McLaren ahead of Red Bull, Hamilton taking pole in his final race for the team. Vettel was fourth, behind Webber and Button, while his main rival Alonso could only manage P8. The McLarens got away well at the start of the race, but Vettel wasn't so lucky behind them. The Red Bull got away poorly, slipping to 7th behind Alonso, who had jumped up to 5th. It would get worse for the German as he was tagged by Bruno Senna at the end of the Reto Aposta and fell to the back with side pod damage. Senna also clipped the rear of Perez in the ensuing carnage. Vettel would, however, continue, while Alonso moved into the vital third place to take the title after Massa helped his teammate to pass Webber. Alonso would, however, find himself behind Hülkenberg just a couple of laps later, meaning he was once again finishing second overall. As As is so often the case in Brazil, the heavens opened enough for many to pit for intermediate tyres, though Button and Hulkenberg stayed out. This ended up being the right call, as the rain dissipated not too long after. Hulk would then take the lead from Button while the rest of the field pitted to go back to dry tyres. Debris on track brought out the safety car to cut the nearly minute lead that Hulkenberg and Button had to nothing, while Alonso was fourth ahead of Vettel. At the restart, Kobayashi moved past the Red Bull, Vettel being more affected by his damage in the dry conditions. Massa would also soon move past Sebastian, aiding Alonso's title hopes further. Hamilton was on a bit of a charge further back though, moved past Button into second before chasing after the Force India of Nico Hulkenberg, who was continuing at the front of the field. Hulk would, however, have a half spin, gifting the lead to the McLaren, and in his haste to get it back, locked up and slid into the side of Hamilton, the McLaren retiring on the spot. Hulk got a drive-through penalty for his trouble. Rain started again and Vettel took the chance to pit first. Red Bull were however not ready for him as his radio was down, so he was delayed in the pits. Ferrari strategised well, much to the surprise of many in the modern era, and pitted Massa at such a time so that Alonso could take second place in behind Jenson Button. Vettel would find himself 7th, meaning that at that stage Fernando Alonso would be taking the title. But the German closed up to Michael Schumacher, his idol, and found a way past into 6th, enough to take the title away from Alonso. The race would end behind the safety car though, after Paul di Resta had a heavy collision with the wall on the start-finish straight, gifting Button his 15th and final race victory in Formula 1. Alonso would come home in second, just ahead of Massa, but it wouldn't be enough to take the driver's title away from Vettel, the German holding on to 6th place and claiming the championship by 3 points, leading to the iconic image of Fernando Alonso in the pits. Red Bull had already claimed the Constructors' crown, meaning it was their 3rd Drivers' Constructors' double in a row.
Sector 1 are really good, but you're losing quite a bit of time in Sector 3.
How are we going to perform in our final qualifying session of the season? I really like Interlagos. It's probably my 2nd favourite circuit behind Gilles Villeneuve. So I'd like to hope we can really outperform the HRT in what is its last ever appearance. But there's still such a lot of power-dependent parts of this circuit, so we've really got to make up for it in the twisty technical middle sector. We've also got to try and hunt down Force India, so let's aim for 16th place, try and get out Q1, and try and take the fight to di Resta and Hulkenberg.
It won't be easy getting out of this qualifying session, but see what you can do.
In the garage then, for the final qualifying session of 2012, practice actually went okay. We were within a second of the pole time, or the top of the timesheet's time, in 9th. Actually really felt like we were getting a rhythm. A little bit of traffic blocked us at times, which didn't help, and it'll be the same in qualifying too. But maybe there's an outside chance here that we'll get out of Q1 for just the 2nd time this season. But I feel like we're going to have to get out early, get some laps on the board, try and make them quick off the bat. So let's see what we can do in Brazil. In our fastest lap of the qualifying session.
You've been dropped to the 10th row, 19th place.
Already in the drop zone, but we get through the Senna S really nicely. We get the DRS open nice and early as we head out onto the Reta Aposta. This is one of those power sections. You just have to wait and wait and wait to get on the brakes at the right time. And we're marginally up on Hulkenberg and also up on our best time. Through that long left-hander, keeping it well away from the outside, making sure that we're in a really good space. Try and just roll off the throttle through this right-hand turn into the technical middle section of the lap. Get a little wide, but you can get away with it with the curbing. Rear tries to step out as we get on the power before we head down to that hairpin at the bottom. We get a little bit wide, take a little bit of grass with us as we head into another heavy braking zone, but roll the car through the camber and get it turned nicely. Same with the corner at the bottom of the hill there. 0.2 of a second up on our best time, but a tenth down on Hulkenberg. So it looks like we're not going to quite get through. But now it's once again, just head up, full speed, foot to the floor. Can we pull that time back enough to find our way out of Q1? Not this time.
Losing a little time in Sector 3. You're where we predicted you would be. You're starting in 19th tomorrow.
And the final qualifying session of 2012 comes to an end in Q1, like 18, 19 of the others. Actually not that far off Jean-Eric Verne, and kind of close to Nico Hulkenberg as well. But we drop out with Verne, Kovalainen, Petrov, Peak, Glock and Della Rosa. But as you can see, we're the only ones within 2 seconds of the pole time of the back markers, and it felt okay, actually. It pushed as hard as we could, but I think it's just that long bit out of Jinsao all the way up to the start-finish straight. We just don't have the power to compete. But I feel there's going to be a lot of overtaking here and a lot of defending up towards the centre S at points, and maybe a few dive bombs in the mid-sector. So let's get over to the race and get ready to go one more time in the HRT F112. In the garage for the final time in 2012. And it's P19, our kind of traditional spot for most of 11 and 12 so far, really. But actually not too far away from those around us, which might mean we can get involved in it quite a bit. Let's take a look at the grid order before we start talking about what we hope for here in Brazil. And it's the 2012 champion that takes pole ahead of his closest rival, so it's Hamilton from Alonso, Maldonado, Kobayashi 3rd and 4th. Great results in final qualifying session for those. Vettel is in 5th ahead of his teammate Webber, then it's Button, Grosjean, Hulkenberg and Massa. Hulk in the points when we're trying to fight Force India for that 8th spot in the Constructors. And there's Perez, Schumacher, Rosberg, Ricciardo, Senna. De Resta down in 16th ahead of Raikkonen, who had another terrible qualifying session. Verne got knocked out in Q1 with us. Kovalainen, Petrov, Peak, Glock and Pedro Della Rosa. And it's 36 laps. It's a long race here for a 50%er, but a short circuit, so tends to work out about the same sort of time. But watching the number of laps tick down feels a lot longer than anywhere else. And as I mentioned there, we're really trying to fight Force India for that 8th spot in the Constructors. We're 2 points behind, which, if Hulk manages to hold on to that 9th place, is 4 points behind at the end of the season. I would like to finish this season ahead of Force India. That would be a really nice place to be. At the moment, we're likely to beat Toro Rosso, and we'll certainly beat Caterham and Marussia, but Force India as well would be a nice scalp for us. I feel good around here. This is one of my favourite circuits. It's probably second favourite after Canada in terms of the current calendar and the obviously historic calendar for us here as well. So I'm really hoping for a good end of season, a good final race just to top the season off. Points might still be quite the distance away, but I really need to get them if I want to beat Force India. So we're gonna aim big, and we're gonna say 8th place is our target, which is huge, and I know that. It's a short run to turn 1 and a very congested middle sector. So maybe in the first lap we can make moves, try and move forward and see if we can displace the Force Indias and get enough points just to jump them back in the standings. But it's going to be a big ask, and we've got to be really on it today. So let's get to the grid for one final time in 2012. And let's go for the 2012 Brazilian Grand Prix. Hamilton, Alonso front row, the champion on pole. There we are. You can see Della Rosa in the background. Right down at the back. Starting on the primes, Pedro, as well. Try and go long here.
Let's have a strong finish to the season.
No real pet talk from Andy as we get 4 lights and 5. And away we go in Brazil. As always, not the best of starts, but we're not swallowed up as much as we normally are. Let's try and go to the outside through the centre S on Vern, which means we're on the inside to the next one. Held up a little by Kimmy. He's made no places off the start, which is unusual for us, but let's see what we can do up the Retroposta to Decidedado. Everybody backs off to get into the corner. Oh, Senna hits us. There's a bit of contact up ahead and we can gain a few spots from that as well. Alongside Ricardo, our rival for this season, as Rosberg tries to look up our inside. There are cars off everywhere. I don't know who's off, but there's yellow flags and Ricardo tries to follow us, loses a bit of front wing. There is at least a Force India behind us. There are cars off everywhere there. Really hoping it was Hulkenberg as we bounce off the curb a little bit. But we're 10th and we're up behind Schumacher, so solid start for us, that. There's Ricardo looking. Try and force him to the outside if he's going to go anywhere.
We expect it to stay dry for the whole race. Dry race.
Keep him off into turn 1, but P10 at the end of the first lap. Really great start for us. Helped out by whatever happened up front with a few drivers. It looks like somebody's heading into the pits. Pretty sure one of those cars was a Ferrari. DRS enabled, and there are 2 zones here. This is one of them, up the Retroposta, the other one at the start-finish straight, but not close enough through here. They really lose a lot of time to me through the centre S. Regain it all in the mid-sector. Schumacher kind of pulling away. The top 9 have split up into a couple of smaller groups. And it's 10th all the way down to, I don't know, probably about 17th, 18th. Run wide, we let Ricardo through, we'll go back for it.
Come on, you can get him.
Bit of wheel banging and we get round the outside of the Australian. Just a minor lapse in concentration.
That's 8 places up from our race prediction. Great job, keep it up.
I just checked who was where. It's Kimi Räikkönen that's the one that's off the back of the field. He was in and amongst us when we arrived at that sort of whatever had happened up ahead of us, as he started quite low down the order. But the good news for us, to a point, is that both Force Indias are behind us. Paul de Rest is immediately there, and Hulkenberg's a bit further back. In fact, Hulkenberg's 23rd, so I feel he got caught up in whatever happened on lap 1. At the moment, we're not scoring enough points. Jumping back ahead of Force India, which finished the season a point behind them, if things remained as they are at the moment. As close as Ricardo's been at any point for a long time. Just drift slightly off the racing line, make him think twice. Rosberg goes past Ricardo, it's going to be his turn to have a go now. Fallen off a little bit through the centre S. I'm starting to feel the effects of tyre wear as well. Not my absolute pinnacle of pace. Close to that pit stop window now. Rosberg's going to have a go. Every time we've been in a position like this season, Rosberg has seemingly been there, whether that be up at the front of a race or down at the lower end of the points. Seem to have been inextricably linked together all year long. Rosberg, unlike Ricardo, so much faster up here. Just sort of usher him to the outside. He's not going to go banzaiing right there, you don't think? A little bit held up through the centre S, but once again, just the pace of him.
We think the car trying to close the
Try and go
gap.
up the inside. We've clipped him. That's going to be a penalty.
You've been given a drive-through penalty
Yellow flag.
for unsportsmanlike behaviour. Stay focused and box in the next 3 laps.
Looks to have caused a bit of a wreck behind.
The car behind has some minor damage to his front wing. Doesn't look too serious.
That's kind of ruined our race now. Another race this season, another penalty. Was the mildest of taps, but enough to send him round. Take our drive through, fall to the back, and just sort of bimble around for the rest of the race. There's Ricardo, the rest will go through, and then everybody else will start streaming through as well.
There's some traffic at the pit exit.
Not
Watch out as
everybody.
you rejoin the track.
Rosberg does manage to get back in front of us. And Hulk will there as well. There he goes, or does he? No, Hulkenberg is behind us.
We think that Hulkenberg is due to pit soon, probably within the next couple of laps.
Points are gone. Bar a safety car or some carnage, I think that's probably cost us the opportunity to find a way to outscore Force India and take back 8th in the constructors. At the moment Toro Rosso aren't scoring enough to jump us, so at least we can say we'll finish ahead of them. Hulk to the outside. There's a little bit of contact, we'll hold him off for now.
The pit crew are ready for you at the end of this lap. Pit this lap.
To the outside, once again we'll hold him off. Look who's just behind Nico Hulkenberg, it's Heikki
The
Kovalainen.
car behind is on standard revs. Car behind is running standard revs.
Hulk goes to the inside, we'll try and hold it around the outside, and we will, I think, just about do it, yes we will. Maybe that's what we should have done with Rosberg, just hold the outside line. Doesn't follow us in. Kovalainen does. We've been in, or coming in. No, that's Alonso, I guess. No, it's Massa, he goes past. Howell's behind Peak coming in, so Kovalainen's managed to jump us. It's a yellow flag, there we go. Gone as quick as it arrived. We'll find out in a minute, I'm sure. We really need to hunt down Kovalainen.
So look after your tyres.
There's the end here. Massive aim of PA. An absolute lifetime away, unless there's issues for a lot of people ahead of us. It's a fight just to beat the other new teams, or the other back market teams. HRT finished last of everybody in 2012. The only time that happened in the 3 seasons in the sport. They normally managed to at least beat Russia. Don't get DRS. Oh, there's no DRS on the start-finish straight then. It's just on the Retroposta. You have enough pace to actually out-drag Heikki Kovalainen. I think Hulkenberg's going to beat us out the pits.
You're 3 places behind Pedro.
Rosa stays out. He started on the primes, so he'll be running a bit longer. Kovalainen with DRS goes around the outside, and we just hold him off. And whether we can just get away from the 2 Caterhams just for a bit of safety for the rest of this race.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
There's Hamilton, our champion for this season. should be able to get me on the start finish here. The inside should be able to drag me. Switch sides, I've got the inside, there he goes. Really not wanting to go. Everything is through. DRS off of him, which is helpful for me. Alonso's basically just driven off the road to get out of Alonso's way. We won't do the same. We'll just feather the throttle in outside of that hairpin.
Waved yellows in sector 3. Yellow flag conditions apply. Watch out for
there's
debris.
a yellow flag ahead. Somebody's come off the road ahead of us. It's Felipe Massa by the looks of it. Massa might be ready to get lapped by Alonso. Rosa Pits, so we will take 17th.
Our data's showing that the car ahead's likely to be running in fuel conservation mode. His times will be slightly slower than normal. You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
2010 champion Mark Webber, next person to lap us. For Alonso. So it looks like a little clutch of cars behind you while they're getting lapped are all kind of swapping positions. It was Kovalainen initially, then it was Petrov, and Bruno Senna the man behind. We can hold off Brazilian at his home track in the remaining laps.
Flag conditions.
Remains to
Let
be
the
seen,
car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Kobayashi through first. P4 for Kamui Kobayashi. What a great race he's having in the Samba. Petrov's jumped Senna again though, so those two having a bit of a battle, which could really benefit me in the long run. It may not be P8, it may not be both the Force Indians and scoring enough points to jump them in the championship, but beating team objective. Again, not something we've managed to do consistently this season. Just because of how slow this car is.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Can't quite make out who that is. I'll look at the inside here, and then it's Romain Grosjean, so he should be jumping Kimi Raikkonen with this result. Good news for the Frenchman.
You need to let the car behind you pass. He's not racing you for position. You're ahead of Verne by 5 seconds. 5 seconds. We think the car behind is running on full revs. He's trying to close the gap.
Cost us some time. We'll at least get DRS from Vettel. Maldonado behind me, having a right old scrap with somebody. I'm going to be right in the middle of it shortly, with Verne on their tail as well.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Maldonado, Jensen Button, Michael Schumacher. And there's Jean-Eric Verne, I think. Yes, it is. Trying to be opportunistic and make that move. Yeah, the Frenchman for now. It's gone. Didn't even get the opportunity to look for a defensive move through then. Ooh. Bounced off a curb. Off-road we go.
Try and close the gap to the car ahead. It's currently 2
Petrov's on
seconds.
us. Couple of laps to hold off the Russian. I don't know what happened there. It just sort of bounced off a an invisible ditch. And then on to our final lap of the season, the last lap for HRT in F1. A season that started with a 24th and last in Australia as Lewis Hamilton wins to just rubber stamp his 2012 championship. But a season that started with 24th in Australia was immediately followed up by a spectacular podium in Malaysia. Then a whole heap of nothing for a long time, punctuated by an awful lot of penalties and a lot of struggle. Even included a couple of last place starts. Then Singapore happened and we took yet another superb podium.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car
Perez
behind.
is going to lap us right at the death. Superb may not have been the word for the drive of that race, but it was certainly
At the
a
moment,
superb
the gap
result.
between you and the car behind is 3 seconds.
Not a lot happened, but Perez
Good
hits
job,
us.
back up to speed now. Blue flag no longer
And then we
applied.
took that 9th place in India, but we end the season P18 in Brazil. So there we are then. We match the team expectation, 18th place in Brazil, ahead of Petrov, Kovalainen, De La Rosa, Senna, Peak and Timo Glock. In fact, a few of them 2 laps down. Me and Petrov managed to avoid that humiliation. At the top end of things, Lewis Hamilton took victory, rubber stamping the championship that he wrapped up last time out. In America, Fernando Alonso 2nd, Webber 3rd, so the top 3 in the championship. Top 3 on the road. Kobayashi's 4th, ahead of Grosjean, then it's Vettel, Maldonado, Button, Schumacher and Perez. Rosberg's 11th, ahead of Raikkonen, then it's Ricciardo, Paul di Resta, Felipe Massa, Hulkenberg, Verne, and then there we are. That means Lewis Hamilton wins the championship by 38 points, ahead of Fernando Alonso. Mark Webber comes home in 3rd, 65 points away, while Button is 100 points off his teammate in 4th. Defending champion Vettel finishes 140 points back in 5th. Grosjean takes 6th, jumping Raikkonen right at the death. Rosberg holds off Schumacher to take 8th. Massa just about holds on to his top 10 spot. Kobayashi jumps Perez right at the death. Maldonado's 13th. We stay 14th, 5 points clear of Nico Hulkenberg. Daniel Ricciardo's 16th. Jean-Eric Verne 17th. Then it's Di Resta and Senna, and then it's your 0-point scorers Kovalainen, Petrov, Peak, De La Rosa, who managed to finish ahead of Glock and Kartikayan, not Kovalainen. In the constructors, we don't manage to jump Force India, we remain 9th, but McLaren win by 105 points ahead of Red Bull. So the first non-Red Bull champions in both drivers and constructors. Ferrari comfortably 3rd, Lotus hold 4th to the end ahead of Mercedes, who were just 20 clear of Sauber in the end. Williams takes 7th. Force India managed to beat us to 8th, we're 2 points behind them, but 12 clear of Toro Rosso and 35 ahead of Caterham and Marussia. And that is the end of 2012. It wasn't the best race in the end. We did pick up yet another penalty, seemingly punctuating the season, but as I said, we started 24th, we finished 24th in 2012. Only got out of qualifying 1 once, but took 2 podiums and a 9th place finish to come away with 35 points. Once again, the only driver in our team to score over the course of the season, and once again ahead of our fellow new teams. But that will all change going into next season. HRT are no more. This is it. They're gone. They're done, and they are finished. And that means that next season we move back to where we started, but under a new guise. We are moving to Marussia for 2013, taking on Caterham and one of the selected established teams. I'll talk a bit more about how we work that out going forward, because again we've got 2 more seasons, where we'll have at least Caterham or Marussia to fight, and then Caterham will be no more by the end of 2014. And then it turns into Manor versus some teams, apart from our one season at McLaren Honda, which is going to be quite fun to see. And then it very much becomes fighting the teams, the real world team finished around. But again, talk more about that in the introduction to 2013, which will be the next episode, driving the Marussia at a pre-season testing venue. But a season to remember, I think, for HRT. Not as good as our first year with Virgin Racing in 2010, but far better than our season for Team Lotus in 2011. So at least they're not going to have the ignominy of being the worst. Marussia and Caterham in the next couple of seasons have still got a fairly low bar to fight. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Thank you so much for joining me through 2012 and 11 and 10, if you have already. Next up, 2013. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. I'll see you for the next year. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.